I always believed in trust, in love, in the life we built together. But one night, a single notification changed everything. I trusted him completely. We both worked, shared our life, and I never imagined he could betray me. At first, the signs were almost invisible. Late nights became a pattern. He would say he had extra meetings or deadlines, excuses that sounded plausible. His phone buzzed secretly, and he would quickly lock it or swipe notifications away when I came near. I felt a creeping unease, a whisper that something wasn't right. We had built a life together, balancing careers, household responsibilities, and moments of shared intimacy. But trust, as I would learn, is fragile. And sometimes, the truth hides in places you least expect. Then came the day I discovered the truth. I had gone to charge his phone in the bedroom when a notification popped up, a message preview I wasn't meant to see. At first, I thought it was innocent, just a harmless text. But the next one, and the one after, revealed a pattern: flirty messages, suggestive emojis, secret exchanges. I could not believe my eyes. He was secretly exchanging intimate videos and chats with another woman online. Shock hit me like a physical blow. My heart raced, and I felt a cocktail of disbelief, anger, and heartbreak. I wanted to confront him immediately, to scream, to demand answers. But something inside whispered, wait, watch, plan. The betrayal was painful, but reacting impulsively could ruin everything. I already knew his phone password. A careless trust from before became my secret advantage. That night, I opened my laptop, logged into WhatsApp web, and scanned his phone. Suddenly, I had access to everything: his messages, deleted chats, media files, timestamps, every detail of his secret life. I sat there, calm on the outside, furious inside. Each conversation revealed another layer of betrayal. Flirty messages, intimate videos, subtle promises, secret jokes I was never part of. Each image, each hidden remark, deepened the hurt, but also strengthened my resolve. I didn't just read. I downloaded everything: messages, photos, timestamps, carefully saving them as evidence. Every piece became a building block for the day I would confront him, or use it strategically. I knew I could not live with him the same way anymore. His betrayal was too deep, and my plan for revenge had begun. Outwardly, I remained composed. He thought I was unaware, oblivious, unsuspecting. But every hidden detail of his double life was now in my hands, documented and ready. Each late-night chat, every disappearing notification, every risky interaction became a clue, a breadcrumb in the path I was carefully mapping. Weeks passed. I observed quietly, letting him feel in control, while I pieced together patterns, anticipating his next moves. Each slip he made. Messages sent when I was home, missed deletions, faint traces of his secret online life added fuel to my strategy. He was arrogant, reckless, confident in his perceived untouchability, but every move was under my watchful eye. The emotional toll was heavy. I felt heartbreak and betrayal acutely, but I stayed strategic. I reminded myself, this wasn't about vengeance through humiliation. This was about justice, awareness, and a lesson that would resonate deeply. I had to act carefully, ensuring that when the moment came, it would be undeniable and irreversible. Slowly, hints appeared that his online flirtations were spilling into real life. Vague mentions of meetings with colleagues he never specified, unexplained absences, subtle new routines. I began to sense that his reckless behavior could escalate beyond emotional betrayal. It could lead to real-life consequences. The stakes were rising, but outwardly, I remained calm, supportive, and unsuspecting. At night, I repeated the process. Logging into WhatsApp web, examining messages, reviewing media, checking timestamps, and downloading everything as evidence. I built an archive that would become crucial for the confrontation and future strategy. Each download, each message, each photo was another piece of the puzzle. I also started subtly documenting his habits, the hours he sent messages, the way he hid his phone, the excuses he gave. I needed a comprehensive understanding, not just to expose him, but to prepare for what might come next. I knew his arrogance could eventually trap him in situations far more dangerous than mere emotional betrayal. One evening, He was careless. A message notification appeared as he typed, visible to me for a split second before he caught it. My heart sank and raced simultaneously. But instead of reacting, I noted the time, the content, and saved the screenshot. Each mistake he made became a strategic advantage. I didn't act out of immediate anger. I didn't call or confront him. I stayed silent, observing his patterns, collecting proof, letting him believe he was untouchable. My mind was a constant calculation: what risks were increasing, which paths he might take, and how I could ultimately turn this situation into justice and learning. The emotional complexity was intense. I felt rage, betrayal, and fear for the future, but I also felt power. Knowledge was my advantage. Calm observation became my weapon. Each late night, every hidden conversation, every downloaded file reinforced a simple truth: he had underestimated me, and the reckoning would be thorough. Even as I gathered evidence, I maintained a semblance of normalcy at home. Shared meals, casual conversations, laughter, it was all a facade. He saw a wife who appeared unaffected, obedient, and trusting. Little did he know, I was preparing for the moment when the consequences of his betrayal would hit with full force. I reminded myself constantly, revenge isn't about destruction. It's about consequences, justice, and awareness. He would face the truth, but I would face him on my terms. Every piece of evidence collected, every message saved, every video downloaded was a promise to myself. One day, he would realize the magnitude of his mistakes, and I would remain morally strong, intelligent, and unshaken. By the end of the weeks, I had a complete archive of his secret life, every message, every video, every detail meticulously recorded. I had built a timeline, a map of his deception, and a blueprint for the reckoning to come. The emotional weight was heavy, but I knew the payoff would be worth the patience and precision. I realized that I could no longer live with him the way things were. The betrayal was too deep, the arrogance too dangerous. But I also realized that my power lay in my calm, calculated observation, in my patience, in the knowledge that I could control when and how the truth would be revealed. And so, I waited. Not in despair, not in rage, but in quiet, confident preparation. The moment of reckoning was coming, and when it arrived, it would be undeniable, strategic, and perfectly timed. The betrayal had been shocking, but the resolution, I promised myself, would be even more unforgettable. I never imagined betrayal could lead to this. But life has a way of exposing arrogance in ways no one expects. Weeks after discovering the messages, the life we thought was stable began to crumble, not because I revealed the betrayal, but because reality was catching up with his recklessness. One morning, the police arrived at our home. I remember the sound of the doorbell, the uniformed officers, the formal tone that immediately sent a shiver down my spine. They were there for my husband. Accusations of sexual misconduct. His online flirtations had escalated into a legal nightmare. Panic swept over him like a tidal wave. The confident, arrogant man I had seen hiding behind screens and lies suddenly shrank under the weight of reality. He begged, pleaded, and offered money to settle the matter. Pride turned into fear, and for the first time, I saw the vulnerability he had carefully hidden for years. I stayed calm. Every instinct told me this was my moment, but not for rage, not for punishment. I had the evidence, the proof, the control. I hired a lawyer quietly, ensuring that everything was prepared for court. Every WhatsApp message, every downloaded photo, every timestamp, everything was organized meticulously. While he panicked, I maintained composure. I didn't scream, I didn't scold. I simply reminded myself, this is a test of strategy, patience, and intelligence. The courtroom was tense. Everyone expected my husband to be guilty. Colleagues, acquaintances, and even some friends whispered about what had happened. I could see the judgment in their eyes. He had brought this upon himself, yet no one knew the full truth. As the trial began, I observed everything carefully. The prosecutor, the judge, the woman, my husband's expressions. My heart beat faster, not with fear, but with anticipation. It was the perfect stage for justice and revelation. The woman presented her case confidently, weaving a story of harassment and misconduct. My husband faltered, his confidence shattered. He looked at me with silent desperation, realizing that he could not solve this with arrogance or charm. I remained calm, letting him feel the pressure. Every moment, every pause in the courtroom, built suspense. Everyone, including my husband, believed that his fate was sealed. Then came my moment. Quietly, with the lawyer's guidance, I began presenting the evidence I had collected. I didn't attack him personally, instead, I let the facts speak. WhatsApp chats, screenshots, timestamps, proof of the woman's interactions with him, everything was laid out meticulously. The suspense was unbearable. Everyone in the courtroom leaned forward, trying to catch every detail. My husband's eyes widened as he realized the extent of the documentation I had. For the first time, he understood how fully aware I had been. As the case progressed, subtle hints began to emerge about the woman's past. She had dealings with others, patterns of deceit that were carefully revealed through legal channels. The courtroom murmured in disbelief. Each revelation shocked not only the public but also my husband, who had thought his secrets were untouchable. The lawyer presented additional documentation, proof that the woman had a history of manipulating multiple men, creating fabricated accusations for personal gain. Gasps echoed through the room as the full picture began to emerge. Suddenly, the entire dynamic shifted. The tables had turned. The woman, once confident and commanding, now faced scrutiny and doubt. My husband, initially shamed and fearful, began to see a path toward relief, but only because the truth and evidence were undeniable. Throughout it all, I remained composed. No dramatic confrontations, no public humiliation. My revenge was quiet, intelligent, and psychologically powerful. The suspense, the revelation, and the exposure of the woman's deceit delivered justice without cruelty. The judge granted my husband bail, but the woman faced investigation for multiple fraudulent acts, her history now exposed publicly for the first time. My husband, shaken and humbled, finally realized the gravity of his actions. His betrayal had brought him to the brink of disaster, and only calm strategy and evidence had pulled him back. He looked at me, eyes wide with a mixture of fear, remorse, and dawning understanding. For the first time, he grasped the consequences of his choices: reckless flirtation, secret interactions, arrogance, and the near destruction it had caused. I didn't celebrate. I didn't gloat. I had achieved something far more satisfying. He faced the reality of his betrayal, learned its weight, and justice was served. The woman's fraudulent schemes were exposed, and the courtroom witnessed the intelligence, patience, and moral strength behind my actions. The experience changed him. He would not repeat these mistakes. He had come dangerously close to losing everything: his freedom, his reputation, and his life stability. And I had learned that revenge doesn't require cruelty, it requires strategy, patience, and the moral high ground. The storm had passed, but its lessons lingered. Truth, patience, and strategy had triumphed where anger alone could not. After my husband was granted bail, the courtroom was not yet empty. The atmosphere remained tense, charged with anticipation. Everyone knew the case had more to reveal, not about him, but about the woman who had caused the chaos. I watched quietly as the proceedings continued. My husband, shaken and humbled, sat beside me. He no longer wore arrogance or bravado. Instead, a reflective silence had settled over him. He realized, deeply and painfully, how his choices had nearly destroyed everything he valued. The lawyer called forward the evidence meticulously prepared over weeks. This time, the focus was entirely on the woman, the manipulations, the fabricated claims, the secret interactions, and her pattern of deceiving multiple men for personal gain. The courtroom leaned in, every eye fixed on the documents, screenshots, and media files presented. Slowly, the truth emerged. The woman, once confident, now fumbled, caught off guard by the precise, undeniable evidence. Every lie, every attempt at manipulation, was systematically dismantled. Gasps and murmurs spread through the room. My husband's colleagues, friends, and even strangers witnessed the full extent of her deceit. Her confident facade crumbled as the court examined her history of fraud. Every step revealed that her accusations against my husband had been part of a larger pattern of deceit. I remained composed throughout. I didn't shout or point fingers. My satisfaction came from watching truth triumph over manipulation, from seeing justice unfold not through vengeance, but through careful, patient strategy. The judge delivered her sentence. The woman would face legal consequences for her fraud, her history of deceiving others fully documented and acknowledged. She could no longer threaten, manipulate, or escape accountability. Justice, at last, was served. My husband, sitting beside me, absorbed the weight of the moment. He understood the severity of his betrayal, the arrogance that had guided his secretive choices, and the near disaster he had narrowly avoided. His respect for me, for patience, and for consequences grew in that silent courtroom. Outside the courtroom, the air felt lighter. My husband did not speak much at first, he didn't need to. His remorse, reflection, and quiet understanding conveyed more than words ever could. I had achieved what I had set out to do. Justice without cruelty, psychological clarity without malice, and moral victory without spectacle. We returned home with a sense of cautious relief. Life would not be the same, trust would need to be rebuilt. But we had both learned invaluable lessons, he about arrogance and betrayal, and I about patience, intelligence, and the power of careful planning. In the weeks that followed, my husband's behavior changed. He was more transparent, thoughtful, and aware of the fragility of trust. Our conversations grew deeper, more honest, and reflective. The near loss of everything had humbled him profoundly. As for me, I had emerged stronger, wiser, and morally in control. The ordeal had tested my patience, emotional strength, and strategic thinking, and the outcome proved the value of calm intelligence over impulsive anger. The woman faced her consequences fully. Her fraudulent actions were now part of the public record, and she could no longer manipulate, deceive, or threaten others as she had once done. Justice had been served not through vengeance, but through truth and strategy. This story, while personal, speaks to a universal truth. Betrayal carries consequences, patience can triumph over impulsive revenge, and intelligence coupled with moral strength can deliver justice more effectively than anger alone. The courtroom, the evidence, and the ultimate resolution left everyone with a clear message: deception and arrogance cannot escape accountability forever. And those who observe, plan, and act with clarity, like I did, can turn even the most painful betrayals into lessons, victories, and transformation. For those following real-life stories of betrayal, suspense, and justice, this case stands as a testament. On AINeuraBeat, we share not just events, but the human experience, psychological depth, and moral lessons that make every story unforgettable.